Fox Business Alert, the world's biggest asset manager, is clinching an iron-fisted deal with the world's biggest miner. BlackRock, typically known for being the world's largest wealth management company. It's got a huge ETF business, but its global infrastructure investment arm is really making some big moves. It's buying 49% of BHP's iron ore power network in Western Australia for $2 billion. The deal, at least from BHP's side of it, is aimed at freeing up capital at a time when the miner is spending more on new projects to increase production of copper and to branch out into potash. Joining us now in a Fox Business exclusive, BHP CEO Mike Henry, live from Paris. Mike, at a time when all metal seems to be either in demand or on some list that deems it rare, critical, or crucial, why sell this piece of your holdings?
So this is really about us looking to be as sharp as we can be about how we go about allocating capital and where there's opportunities for us to free up some parts of our business, secure capital at better multiples than we generate in our business, to redeploy that into higher returning growth. We are pursuing those opportunities, and this is the first of what I expect is ultimately going to be a series of similar deals.
Well, let's talk about your push into copper. Copper, of course, has been a very hot play right now because of all the data center build out. And of course, copper wiring is very, very important when you're doing things like that. What has that business been like for you this year?
So, look, copper is fascinating. Demand for it is ubiquitous. It's needed to power the everyday economy. It's going to be needed for the energy transition. And as you point out, Liz, these data centers and all the power that feed them are very copper intensive. And so we're expecting demand for copper to grow by 70% over the next 25 years. Against that backdrop, we've targeted copper as a key commodity for growth for us. We've grown by 30% in the past 3 years. We're the world's largest copper producer, and we have 4 big copper growth projects ahead of us, including one right here in the U.S. in Arizona, the Resolution project. We're in a joint venture seeking to progress that project, and it's one of the world's largest undeveloped copper deposits, and it can feed 25% of the U.S.'s demand for decades to come. So we're pretty excited about our copper future.
As we understand it, though, that's, I believe, stalled, at least for the moment, due to opposition from the local Apache tribe there. We know President Trump supports the project, but where does it stand?
So there are, as you point out, a few hurdles yet to clear, but we're optimistic about that. And when those hurdles are cleared, we're keen to get going with that project, as is our joint venture partner. And back on President Trump and the Trump administration, I cannot say enough about how supportive they've been for mining and getting mining back up and going again here in the U.S. And that's all against a backdrop of a real understanding of the importance of metals and minerals and just how fragile some critical mineral supply chains are. So they're taking urgent, strong action to get projects going here in the U.S. And that's very welcome from a broader industry and a BHP perspective.
Potash. Potash, of course, is an element that goes into fertilizer. Fertilizer has... It's kind of strange to say, but it's become very, very important when it comes to investor perception, because we know what's going on in Russia with Ukraine. A lot of fertilizer was manufactured there, and the prices have been fluctuating depending on who hits whom with whatever bombs. It's just a terrible situation there. But the big potash play that you have up in Jansen, Saskatchewan, which, by the way, is where my mom grew up, Jansen, Saskatchewan.
Yes.
Potash mine. Tell us how that could really add to your bottom line, because you don't hear a lot of people talking about potash.
So this is such an exciting new business, and we're investing about $12 billion US right now to develop the first 2 stages of what will ultimately be a 4-stage project. And just those 2 stages alone will see us supplying about 10% of the world's potash supply, first production occurring in 2027. Why is potash important? We've got 8 billion mouths to feed today, 10 billion mouths to feed around the world by 2050, all living better standards of living, which tends to involve more calorie-intensive diets. So the world's going to need a lot more agricultural production, and potash, of course, is going to be a key enabler of that to be done in a sustainable fashion. So we like this business. It's going to generate high margins, and it's going to be attractive for shareholders for many decades to come.
You've got some tariff uncertainty. Right now, President Trump has, I believe, about a 10% tariff on fertilizer imports to this country from Canada. And there is word, as I know you've heard, that he's considering tariffs on incoming copper. How is that affecting the way that you are able to plan further out when it comes to your operations?
So clearly, the U.S. administration, in their efforts to get mining going again in the U.S. and to ensure reliable long-term supply of critical minerals, is adopting a number of different measures to stimulate investment in the U.S. Specifically in respect of potash, it has been exempted as a USMCA compliant product. I know that there's been some recent discussion about potential potash tariffs. It's something we're watching closely. Right now, U.S. farmers secure 80 to 90% of their potash from Canada, and we believe that BHP's entry into the market, the big investment that we're making up in Canada, is going to see more supply into the U.S., which is going to be good for U.S. farmers, U.S. agriculture, and ultimately the U.S. Economy. Now, in the case of copper, the sort of copper that we produce isn't subject to tariffs into the U.S. Currently. But again, this is something we watch closely. Given how strong demand is from here on out for copper, we remain optimistic about the future of our copper business, irrespective of whether we do see future tariffs on the horizon here in the U.S.
Mike, what about M&A, mergers and acquisitions? You made a play for Anglo America, didn't quite work out. Teck got it instead. You got your eye on some other gems out there?
So we are very keen on copper, key growth pillar for us, but we've got a lot to do internally. So we're already the world's biggest copper producer. We've grown by 30%, 4 big growth options ahead of us. That's the primary focus. But having said that, when there's opportunities to acquire high-quality assets at a value that allows us to put hand on heart and create further value for BHP shareholders, it's incumbent on us that we look at those opportunities. And Anglo was a case in point. It wasn't to be, so that's now behind us. And our first focus is really on getting these organic projects up and running. We'll
be watching it, and fascinating, space that you guys are in. I mean, if anybody can make iron ore and copper exciting, it's you and it's us. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you, Liz.
Mike Henry is just one of the many power players that we have on the Claman Countdown.